Some of the things that you found online, I'll just trot through three, and I'll give a bit of a health warning to people in case any of them they are offensive and they're attacking in nature. But just a health warning to those of you listening, on at least one of them anyway. Self-loathing race traitor was something that she was described as trailer trash, and Meghan, the Queen of Ireland, M being an animal that I'm not going to say the sentence, but I think people can work out what animal that is in the context. And we've seen that kind of language related to that animal used in football, in racism in football and elsewhere. Loads of others that you found as well. How did the stuff directed at Meghan Markle compare to other racist examples that you found online?
Well, I mean, I'll explain what we did. I'm involved in a project which is a combination of some journalism lecturers and computing specialists, and we're interested in tracking the levels of hate speech and abuse on social media. So we thought this was an interesting case to look at. What we've captured is a snapshot, a sample. So basically, we looked at a period of around a day just after the initial announcement from Meghan and Harry. We captured tens of thousands of tweets which mentioned Meghan, overwhelmingly negative in sentiment, I think it's fair to say. But the stuff that we were most interested in were the most abusive tweets. So we captured, in that 24-hour period, we captured around 400 tweets which were abusive about Meghan and which contained what you would regard as some of the worst racist and misogynistic terms. And the ones you've kind of read out there are at the kind of lighter end of the spectrum, it's fair to say.
So plenty of it was just unreadable from my perspective.
It was, yeah. And even for people like myself who kind of deal with this stuff on a regular basis, it's still, when you read through it and you actually read the content, it is still shocking to read. And I know some of my computing colleagues who are used to kind of dealing with this kind of stuff get really upset when they actually read the kind of stuff that we're capturing. So I think sometimes you become desensitized to it when you see it a lot. But I was still shocked.
Now, the internet and Twitter and online attacks are, I mean, sometimes newspapers put things out and they end up on the internet as well. So that can feed it. It can feed the whole thing, can't it? The whole sort of system, the whole ecosystem of racism.
Yeah, it's all connected, I think. Yeah.
But most people with even... Actually, you don't even need a public role for this to happen to you on Twitter and elsewhere. There's something about it that's just full of bile and full of venom and hatred and jealousy and enmity and all of those things. Is it any different for her because of the scale of her position in British life?
Well, that's a good question, and I wouldn't have clear evidence. I mean, my sense is that if you're a high-profile person, probably the higher profile you are, the worse it is. It's bad. So, we have lots of examples of female politicians who deal with this stuff on a daily basis. I'm sure
I get it. I get it. I'm not on the same scale, I don't imagine for a second, but I just don't engage with it. So I know that on a daily basis, when I do my job, there are people at home tweeting. I've muted them, on most of them, but they tweet and I set up my screen in front of me so that they're not there, so I don't see what's being said, because it's vicious, absolutely vicious, and it's endless. It's not just directed at me, but it is directed at me. Now, is there an argument that actually there are these weirdos all over the country, some of them are racist, put it to one side, leave it? Or is it fair enough to say, I can't stomach this, I cannot live like this?
I think that has to be a personal choice. I think some people obviously can deal with it better than others. Personally, I'd much rather live in a society where nobody had to deal with that. I think the reality is that if you want to be on social media and you are a person of profile, you will get a lot of this. And the sad fact is that you'll get a lot more of it if you're a woman. There's research that's shown that I think female politicians are 3 times more likely to get abuse than their male counterparts, for example. And obviously, in the case of Meghan, a lot of the abuse we found was what you might call misogynistic, but there's the added
Hello everyone, welcome back. TOC News. Remember to subscribe, like, comment and share. Here at C News your support means a lot to us. Meghan Markle, once celebrated as a modern addition to the British royal family, has found herself the subject of relentless online abuse. Amid the constant stream of tweets dissecting her every move, a troubling pattern has emerged, an outright dismissal of her royal lineage and heritage. Critics frequently claim Meghan has no legitimate ties to royalty, ignoring the fact that her marriage to Prince Harry, the Duke of Sussex, formally integrated her into one of the most famous royal institutions in the world. These detractors often resort to personal attacks, painting her as an outsider who doesn't belong. While other royal figures are afforded the respect of their titles and positions, Meghan's are often downplayed or entirely omitted in conversations. Her American upbringing and biracial heritage are frequently used as points of contention, as though they diminish her status within the monarchy. Comments dismissing her royal connection are interwoven with accusations that she manipulates her title for personal gain. Tweets demanding she drop the Duchess title trend sporadically, despite the fact that her position is no different from others who married into royalty. Supporters of Meghan argue that the vitriol reveals more about the biases of her critics than about Meghan herself. They point out the double standard in how her actions are scrutinized compared to other members of the royal family. In contrast, her defenders highlight her charitable efforts and work within the royal fold, which are often overshadowed by the online noise. They argue that Meghan, regardless of her critics' opinions, continues to hold her place in the history of the British monarchy. The constant dismissal of her royal status speaks to a larger issue of societal exclusion. Meghan Markle, a woman who broke barriers within the monarchy, remains a polarizing figure, celebrated by some and vilified by others. Meghan Markle has become one of the most polarizing figures of modern times. To some, she is a symbol of progress, a biracial woman who broke barriers by marrying into the British royal family and using her platform to speak on issues of inequality and empowerment. To others, she is a lightning rod for controversy, a figure whose every move invites criticism and scorn. This polarization isn't just rooted in her actions, it's deeply intertwined with her refusal to conform to expectations. Meghan, despite being one of the most scrutinized individuals in the world, continues to chart her own path. And for that, she remains a target of relentless hate. From the moment her relationship with Prince Harry became public, Meghan was thrust into the unforgiving glare of the spotlight. What followed was a wave of backlash unlike anything seen before in the modern royal era. Critics accused her of everything from being too ambitious to manipulating Harry into distancing himself from the royal family. Every choice she made, whether it was her wedding dress, her decision to have a baby shower, or her interviews, was dissected with a harshness that bordered on obsession. Her departure from royal duties alongside Prince Harry only added fuel to the fire. Many viewed their move to the United States as a betrayal of tradition, while others saw it as a necessary step for a couple seeking independence and protection. Meghan's detractors were quick to label her a disruptor, blaming her for the fallout between Harry and the royal family. But what makes Meghan particularly polarizing is her resilience in the face of this hatred. For every negative headline and social media tirade, she has remained steadfast in her efforts to advocate for mental health, women's rights, and racial equality. Meghan hasn't disappeared quietly into the background as many of her critics would prefer. Instead, she's leaned into her role as a public figure, choosing to speak her truth even when it's uncomfortable. Her tell-all interview with Oprah Winfrey was a turning point. Meghan revealed the toll that royal life had taken on her mental health, the racism she experienced, and the lack of support she felt from the institution. While some praised her courage for speaking out, others accused her of airing dirty laundry and attacking the monarchy. The revelations widened the divide between those who saw her as a victim of systemic mistreatment and those who believed she was orchestrating a campaign for sympathy and attention. The animosity directed at Meghan also speaks to larger societal issues. As a biracial American woman, she represents a break from the traditional image of royalty. Her presence challenges deeply ingrained notions of what a royal should look like and how they should behave. This has made her a symbol for change, but also a scapegoat for those uncomfortable with the evolving face of the monarchy. Despite the hate, Meghan's ability to remain a focal point of conversation demonstrates her enduring relevance. Even her harshest critics cannot ignore her, and in some ways, their vitriol only amplifies her influence. Meghan's polarizing nature lies in her refusal to fit neatly into the mold others have constructed for her. She is neither the perfect duchess nor the villainous opportunist her detractors make her out to be. She is complex, multifaceted, and unapologetically herself. This defiance frustrates those who wish to see her subdued or erased from the narrative altogether. They cannot understand how she continues to thrive, to command attention, to spark conversations, and to forge ahead even when the odds are stacked against her. Meghan's resilience forces a mirror onto society, reflecting not just the biases of her critics but also the enduring struggles faced by women who refuse to be silenced. In the end, Meghan Markle's polarizing nature isn't just about her as an individual, it's about what she represents. She is a disruptor in an institution that thrives on tradition. She is a voice for change in a world that often resists it. And whether loved or hated, Meghan's impact is undeniable. The more she continues to shine in spite of the hate, the more she forces the world to reckon with its own contradictions. For that reason, she will remain a polarizing figure, defying expectations and challenging norms for years to come.